Today is the long-awaited day. It is Cookbook Day. My new cookbook, Vegetarian for Dinner, is officially available for order. It has 60 complete dinner recipes ranging from pasta, soups and stews, salads, skillets and bakes, and of course, breakfast for dinner. Something that was really important to me with releasing a cookbook is that every recipe has a full color photo, takes the guesswork out of things, and if I may say so myself, they're also just kind of pretty. So if I just had a few adjectives to describe this cookbook, it would be comforting, nourishing, complete meals. So yeah, it's dinner recipes, but honestly, a lot of these work really well for lunch. They make great leftovers. And of course, there's a breakfast for dinner section, which features breakfast, which you could do for breakfast. Another thing about this cookbook is even though it's 60 complete meals, there's way more than 60 recipes. I have a section in the index that highlights all my favorite standalone recipes. So if you're just looking for a protein recipe to go with some grains and veggies you already have, you can just go down to proteins and choose a standalone recipe. So I made a poll a few days ago about which recipe you'd like to see me cook on YouTube, and the winner was my personal favorite, actually, broccoli farro casserole. For those following along at home, it is page 59. Yep, page 59. This is like a broccoli rice casserole, so a little cheesy, creamy, super comforting, but instead of rice, we are making it new with farro, which is a nice and chewy grain. The best part is we are using a buttery cracker cheesy topping. So we're crushing up some crackers, combining it with cheese and putting it on top so it's golden and comforting. And even though we aren't officially in fall yet, this is like the definition of fall and winter comfort food. So get ready, grab yourself a cookbook. If you don't have a cookbook, you can follow along below. I have the ingredients written out down in the description. Let's get cooking. So as far as prep goes, we're just gonna be doing 2 leeks, 1 broccoli crown, and then we'll also do garlic. I'm doing 4 cloves, and I do say to mince it in the cookbook, but for sake of ease, I'm just gonna grate it in. It's pretty interchangeable, honestly, grating or mincing. It's up to you. The thing about leeks is even though they look really big, we're actually just using like the smallest part of it, like this part of it. And then you can peel off that external layer and you'll get rid of most of the dirt. And then if you don't, you can rinse her off a little. I'm going to go ahead and slice it in half first. This just makes it easier to slice, and we're gonna be breaking it down a fair amount anyway. So there you go, just slice it thinly. So it looks like this. I need to stop doing that. Once you have your leeks all chopped up, it's time to do the broccolis. We're just gonna slice it into smaller florets. You could even just tear it. So we just want them to be about this size. And that's pretty much that for prep. We're actually gonna head over to the stove for most of this recipe. So I will meet you over there in just a second. I'll start by adding bouillon to a pot and then I'll add in some water. I'm using bouillon because I find it more flavorful. You could use an equal amount of veggie broth. I'm doing 2.5 cups of veggie broth, and I'll bring that up to a boil. And then once this comes up to a boil, I'm going to add in my farro. In the cookbook, I say to just use a steamer basket for the broccoli, but honestly, what I really like to do is steam it directly over that farro. It's 1 less burner used, and it'll cook in about 10 to 12 minutes, so you can add it at the end of the cook time for the farro. I'll start by adding in like 2 tablespoons of butter, maybe a little more. Okay, so we are going to add up those chopped leeks. And I'll also add some of that grated garlic and some salt. And then we'll just saute until the leeks are golden and softened. It'll take about 8 to 10 minutes. Now we can start on the sauce, so I'll add in 2 tablespoons of flour. We are making a creamy roux. We're gonna wanna toast this for about 2 to 3 minutes so that it becomes golden and it cooks off that raw flour taste. So just make sure to keep stirring it. And now I'm going to slowly whisk in the milk. I'm gonna start with just like a 1/4 cup, kind of make it into a paste, and turn that heat down. We're going for a really thick gravy-like consistency, so we're only using about 1.5 cups of milk. I'm using 2% here, but you could really make this vegan quite easily. So once you've got that all mixed in and it's not lumpy or anything, we're going to add in the seasonings. So we have 2 kinds of mustard here. It adds brightness and just like a lot of flavor. We're doing about a teaspoon or so. I guess I'm not measuring today. I've made this recipe enough times. 3/4 teaspoon of ground mustard powder. And I'm doing only about 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper, which has a pretty strong smoky flavor. I'm doing about 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, and then 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, which obviously we already added garlic, so you can really adjust this to taste if you're not like a huge garlic person. Since it's such a small amount of milk, it does thicken up quite quickly, but this is about the consistency you want. I drained off the farro, and I'm gonna add it in, and I'll add about 1/2 of the broccoli. I'll add in the beans, and I'll stir it all together. This is all over low heat right now, by the way. The oven is preheating also. I feel like that's a pretty important note to share. Oh, she looks luxurious. I did forget the black pepper. I'm not sure what happened at the grocery store, but I forgot to get white cheddar, so I am using Asiago, which honestly I think is gonna be so good. The recipe calls for a 6-ounce block of white cheddar, so honestly this probably is about enough because we're doing only half right now and the rest goes on top. So now that we have this all ready, I'll head back over to my counter and prepare that topping. For the topping, we're gonna use some Ritz. You can use any kind of butter style crackers. I'll start by adding in butter. We're using 3 tablespoons of melted butter. We're using 2 cups, which is basically like 1 sleeve. You'll crush the crackers. I'm using a potato masher. You could use a plastic bag in the palm of your hand. Stir that together. And then I'll add the remaining 2 ounces of that, not white cheddar, but Asiago cheese. And we'll add the crumb topping. Just kind of intersperse it all over. And now we'll go ahead and put it in the oven to bake at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes, basically until that cheese is melty and golden and those crackers are golden and the casserole is bubbling and your house smells amazing and all of those wonderful things. The moment of truth. I already know it's good, but this is so good. I'll take a break from eating this to let you know. You can find the cookbook on Amazon. You can search my name. You can search the title, Vegetarian for Dinner, or you can just check out that link below. I'm also linking to a page on my website that kind of goes into more detail of what to expect from the cookbook. In the meantime, don't forget to hit subscribe so you can stay up to date on my new YouTube videos. If you have any questions about the cookbook, I want to answer them, so leave them down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon.